How many of you, number one or number two is giver? Okay, so we got a few. All right, that's good. I love this gift. It's amazing. The gift of giving, the heart of God. We have different gifts according to the grace given to us. If this is your gift, you carry the part of the Father that's generous. For God so loved the world that he gave. So we're carrying that heart. I think a lot of times we can think of it as being practical. It's like somebody that's accumulated something and they can stroke a check. But I would say it's deeply spiritual. You're going against fear. You're going against being stingy. And there's delight. I think of the example of the miraculous provision for the 5,000. So obviously there's teaching going on there. There's encouragement. There's order. There's leadership. You know, Jesus says, gather them together. God likes order. But in the end, you know, there's the fish and the loaves. The people had to be fed. We just got back from Uganda. I was thinking about this incredible man named Daniel. He lives in Entebbe. He lives on Lake Victoria. He was raised by two doctors. He came from a broken home, worked his way off the streets, became an electrical engineer, and he was able to accumulate a little bit of money. And he went to a very broken community and bought land. And so he takes care of children. He's built a school. Most of the kids in the village want to be boarders in his school, even though they might live a stone's throw away from the school. Because it's a fishing village. There's fishermen that go around, they fish, they get drunk, they create babies, they abandon the babies, they disappear. There's drugs and alcohol there. There's witch doctors that are cursing him and his school. Maybe within 150 yards of his school, there's a brothel with 50 rooms. He's right on the front line of a spiritual war. In his school, there's teaching. In his school, there's great displays of mercy. But one of the things that attracts me is talking to Daniel about he's building a concrete and rebar building. And it's 3 stories, and he's building the 4th story. And so we talked to Daniel, I talked with Billy, and we sat down and said, Daniel, what do you need? You know, we want to see this whole village tipped for the light. He's surrounded by darkness. We want to see the kingdom expand. But it does require provision. So we're talking to him about how that could happen. In my experience with the gift of giving, starting a school and things like that, one of the amazing things about the gift is normally you're not going and finding the people with the gift of giving. They find you. So my first year, started a school on a shoestring. We were in a building that was way too expensive. We moved to a basement of a church. I had a dad of 2 children who kind of had a humble job by the world standards. And he came to me and said, you moved. Did you move because of money? And I said, we absolutely moved because of money. It's like 1/3 of the rent. Yeah, we definitely did. He said, I don't think you can grow the school here. I want to buy you a building. And I said, we're like maybe 6 months in. I didn't even know what I was doing yet. And then I talked to him, and I said, well, I tried to get the idea for how much money he was talking about. And he was talking about maybe $300,000. I said, we don't really need a building right now, but if you were to subsidize our rent, we could move to a better place and you could buy some technology, and that would be a big shot in the arm. And he paid our rent for 3 years. That's the gift of giving. I had another parent, we would go to a robotics tournament, stop to get some gas. He comes over, he hands me an envelope. He says, love what you're doing, love the vision, keep it up. I get these things quarterly, there will be more to come. I get in my car, I open it up, it's $25,000. The people with the gift of giving, they're excited about seeing the kingdom expand. They can't wait. They would lose sleep thinking, like, how could, like, I know, definitely with Billy, we're thinking, like, how could we tip this village? How could we? Daniel, he basically doesn't own any private property. He was housing kids in his own house. He's like, it's all kingdom for him. We know his character, and it's great. And so it's just, how can we fund this guy? Also, the gift of giving is visionary. So it's not just about stroking a check. Like Billy is a good example here. So we're talking about these different projects. All of them are over $10,000, looking at maybe 3 projects. And Billy says, I think that you should get the upgraded water drill, because you could charge for that, and that could fund the new well itself, but it could fund some of these other projects. Sometimes it's thinking strategically. It's going and hunting provision or thinking outside the box. So people with that. In the Bible, Lydia would be an example. Most people think, most scholars say that she was funding Paul's mission trips. Barnabas sold his property for the Acts church. So there's good examples there. For me personally, I think that my wife and I went through a period of time where we went through a long period of financial suffering. And it was like worse than poverty because we were in a lot of debt. But when we came out, it was just so exciting when God took us to a new season. We had some old cars that still had good life on them. They weren't worth a lot, but they still ran. But we gave a couple of them away to people. This wasn't a lavish gift, but in a way it's proportional. It's like the widow's mites. This wasn't a huge amount of money, but it was like, we were just so thrilled. It was like, oh my gosh, we could give away cars. Like, we were the people, like, for a period of time, we were like, we needed the car. We needed, like, there were times where I felt like a criminal. I'm driving around Winchester with expired stickers and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? I'd drive down Valley Avenue and root in my ashtray to get like a couple bucks for gas for the day, get the manna for the day. So it was so great to be able to be generous. It just gets me excited. It is important, just thinking about how the kingdom could expand. Let me just say a couple of things to watch for. One, obviously, we're stewards, right? It all belongs to God. So sometimes people who have the gift of giving are good stewards and they can accumulate wealth, but sometimes they could be prideful about that. So we have to watch out for pride. Also, some people are heavy-handed, say, hey, I'm going to fund the kingdom, but I'm kind of going to hang on to the strings here. I'm going to think, I'm funding this effort, so I should have some say, instead of just releasing it. Similar to like prophets. You feel like you got a word? Just deliver the mail. Just let it go. Don't try to lobby for it. Don't try to add to it. With the gift of giving, just release the gift. So those are a couple things. One, sometimes people with the gift of giving can be naive. So you're like selling yourself on what could be done and that type of thing. And sometimes people are unscrupulous. I had to be careful with some of the people that were generous with our ministry, because if I would talk to them, they were visionary people, so we would be just talking about the vision, and then they would want to bring a check, but I also knew about them. I loved them, and maybe their spouse didn't agree with that. It would create problems in their marriage. So I had to say, I have to be careful about people that in some ways are generous in a way that's going to be harmful to them. So I think you have to try to not be naive and kind of do your due diligence. Let me see here. The Bible talks about being lavish, being generous. And so it's being focused and single-minded. I think I covered it. So the gift of giving. Enjoy.